Hello, everyone. So I'm here to explain a little bit to you how this online tool for calf housing selection might work. Basically, when you open the link that is provided to you, you should end up with on this tab, and you have a little bit of an introduction, and the results are already there with default numbers. So everything is populated and done for you, but you can change all of those numbers, and that's what I will show you. What are those numbers? First, well, the tool considers 4 types of housing for calves: insulated, indoor insulated or cold barns, or group hutches versus individual hutches. And it's giving you a number of information for each of those barns or housing systems. Uh, the cost of the structure itself, the cost of the equipment, both on a per head basis, as well as the total cost or total investment, I should say, on a per head basis, and the technical ratings. The technical ratings basically should reflect how you value the different features. So we'll see like the ability to provide clean air, ease to work in, and all those, the comfort it might provide for the workers. All of those things we'll see. But the highest is this number, and basically the better, or you think that of that housing system, the higher you're ranking that system. The key thing is that you can change all of those numbers, and I've already changed some of those values by default. How do we do that? Let's first go in the technical rating tab here. Your numbers should probably, you should probably have 5s all over the place. As you can see, I've already changed them to different numbers, but basically this table is providing you with a list of features. Okay, those are deemed to be the important features, or the ones that you might want to consider in rating those different housing systems. And you can change their relative importance. So I could say here, as I've done, that bedding quantity is really not important to me. So I'll give it a 0, or I could give it a 1. And I can do that by double clicking. So the ability to control ambient temperature, if I think it's a very important thing for me, I could give it a 10, just like that. And by doing so, what I have done now is that in my rating, I'm giving a weight of 10 for the ability to control ambient temperature, and a weight of only 1 for bedding quantity. So basically, bedding quantity is not going to be very important in defining my technical rating. We can do that, and we can also change the rating of the different systems. So if we go back to our ability to control the ambient temperature, as you can see, the default rating is that insulated barns are given an 8, so they are most advantageous or favorable to get when it comes to that feature. While group hutches and individual hutches have only a rating of 2, so they're much lower. Okay. Again, we can change that. If we think that group hutches are not that bad, we could bump them up to a 4. And maybe we think the same of individual hutches and say, yes, there's a bit of a difference, but maybe it's not as big as what was put there by default. And if we want to get more information about why the default was set at 2, or what the numbers that were there, we can click on that info bubble there, and we will get some information here as to, what goes into the rating of insulated or non-insulated indoors versus group hutches. Okay. And the same goes for all the different features. And this is really meant as a list to give you of a number of things that you might want to think about when considering those different housing systems. So all of that, I'm coming back to my introduction and results, and that will be reflected here in my technical ratings, which will, those numbers here will reflect all of the changes that I've made in my previous table. And as it stands, it would give me that my insulated barn is very slightly above the cold barn, and they are considerably higher than group hutches, and my individual hutches are still higher than group hutches, but not as high as the barns. So based on what I've defined in my technical ratings, I clearly would have a preference for some type of barn. I can go to cost estimates, and here again, you've got your 4 different types of housing that are listed in different columns. You've got some information here. And what you have in the different rows, the first row is the square footage that's going to be required per head, okay? And you have the default there. Again, you double click on it, you say, no, mine's going to be smaller, it's going to be bigger, or it's going to have this or that. I think it's going to take me 80 square foot, and my cold barn, for some reason, would take me 85, okay? So and you can change all of those numbers at will. Again, you do have some information here in the info bubble. The next line is going to give you that those square foot that you have, those square feet that you have defined here in the first line, how much will they cost? So here we have by default, this number here should be 60 by default. So you have 65 for the insulated barn, 60 for the cold barn. Again, you have a more precise number, you have something in mind, you can change it. And then you have a list of other types of equipment, gates and hutches, feeding equipment, ventilation and cleaning, all on a per head basis. And you can come and adjust all of those numbers here. And once you've done those adjustments, you come back here and those numbers will be reflected here in this line in terms of total per head. And now, if we've gone through those 2 tabs, the technical ratings and the cost estimates, then we basically have a bunch of information to try to help us sort out, is there a system that is clearly inferior to the others? Is there a system that is clearly superior to the others? Okay. So in this case, I have a very close, the cost per head is almost the same for my 2 barns, and so is the rating. So those two would be pretty close. Obviously the rating here for the hutches is much lower, but we can see that if we consider that the cost is the same for the group or the individual hutches, because our rating is higher for individual hutches, maybe we would X out and say group hutches don't seem to be in the mix in the cards for us. Now we have to decide whether the higher technical ratings of the barns are worth the extra investment. Finally, you do have a little bit of information here also that our experts have provided on cow-calf rearing systems, and as well on custom heifer raising. So if you want to outsource raising some of your calves or heifers.